Hey everyone, and welcome to another podcast episode of Volusia Flagler Cares, your one-stop shop for everything nonprofit and the fundraisers and organizations that we support throughout Volusia and Flagler County. Today we have a special guest. It does seem like it's Daytona Beach, but this really does, it encompasses the entire area as far as the arts go. And we have with us as our guest Mark Francis, the executive director of the Daytona Beach Symphony Society. Mark, hey, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Uh,
Thank you for
this
having me.
is yeah, I saw you at an expo, and I said, hey, it might be interesting, to have you on and explain a little bit about a subject that some people are into, some people stay in that, that group. I'm kind of on the tangential side of that, but I love the music. I
Mhm.
mean, I really do. So anyway, uh, we're going to talk a little bit about the Symphony Society, but before we get into that, you were born in Silver Creek, New York.
Yes.
Okay. So that's upstate New York?
Yeah, it's about 30 miles southwest of Buffalo on Lake Erie.
Ooh.
I always know
No
what that
wonder
means.
you're here. So, well, yeah, again, that explains why you've moved around. I even saw Corpus Christi there.
Yeah.
That happens to be my mom's hometown. So
Oh,
many trips down to Corpus,
okay.
and beautiful city, except
Yeah.
during hurricanes. But anyway, tell us a little bit about being the executive director,
Right.
your education. You're a pretty fascinating guy, Mark, and
Well, thank you.
I'm sure everybody would want to know a little more about it. But just about you, and then we'll get into more of on the musical composition side
Okay.
in just a minute. So,
Oh boy, where to start? I've had a lot of different positions and things. I started out in college wanting to be a college professor, and
of music.
yes, and
Okay.
my degrees are in composition, and things didn't, as I was come to find out later, there are far more people with degrees than there are positions to fill them,
Yeah.
or to be filled, I should say, and it so you end up kind of doing other types of jobs. And my first job after my doctorate was distance education. And at that time, 35 years
Wow.
ago, it was nobody knew what the heck you were talking about.
Yeah, there was
Uh,
no internet.
yeah, the internet was 5 years from really being widely available. And but Louisiana was trying to avoid some of the education lawsuits that happened in the late 80s about equalization of funding between
Right.
rural and urban schools. And so they started this program which offered courses in uh, French and Spanish and calculus and a few other things, and music and art and theater was
Mhm.
part of it because they were required courses to graduate with a high school diploma in Louisiana. And so we taught all these tiny little towns all over Louisiana. So even today, I ran into someone once who has said he was from Louisiana. I said, "Oh, where?" And he told me the name of the town. And I said, "Oh, I know where that is." And he goes, "Sure you do." And so I told him, and he was shocked because I don't even know if it's 1,000 people there. It's very small, but
But hey, you got to serve it up, so you go mobile.
yeah, yeah, and I mean the equipment by comparison with what we have today was primitive. Plus the fact it wasn't like you could take a course on how to do distance education. So we kind of had to invent the whole thing and
Right.
figure out what
Pioneering,
to
man.
do. And I did that for about 10 years and moved on after that, hoping to find a full-time college job, but it never worked out. So I had made some friends in where I was living at the time in Jackson, Mississippi, uh, who performed with the Mississippi Symphony, and I noticed they had a job opening for the director of education. So I asked him, have they filled that? And he said no. And so I interviewed for it uh, and got a job. And I didn't think I'd be very good at it, actually. I thought they'd fire me after 2 or 3 months.
Right.
But
I need a paycheck.
what's that?
Oh,
Well,
no, I was, go ahead.
it's it's just that I surprisingly I took to it and understood it and was able to rebuild their program there. And they had just come through a very difficult time and was able to contribute to helping that orchestra recover.
Hmm.
Um, I had also after I did that for a few years, then I moved over to Florida to Tampa to the Florida Orchestra, and it was about the time of the housing collapse, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it hit Florida pretty hard, and
Oh yeah.
certainly Tampa got hit pretty hard, and I lost my job. And trying to find a job after that got to be a little difficult, and it took a number of years before I found another full-time job.
Right.
Um, at that point, it was, trying to be an executive director of a small orchestra. Um, I don't advise it for anyone.
Right. But you were going to stick to the music industry?
Yeah, well, it gets to you get to a place where it's like you're a little too far down the road to go back.
Right.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. No, I
And
totally understand.
so I kind of at times, between gigs was, I'd teach and perform and cobble stuff together to make a living. And some of the problems you run into, especially in smaller places, is you're oftentimes dealing with a handful of people that basically run the town. And
Yeah,
it's very easy to run afoul of them.
Yeah.
So it didn't really
completely.
matter how well I did. They were they wanted to run the show and they didn't want someone coming in and basically doing
Some
their job.
upstart.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
So
on the other hand, what do they say? The golden rule. He who
well,
has the gold makes the rules.
it's and I hate to say I wish I could say that's not true, but it is true. And
It's true.
it it can be very difficult working under those circumstances. Um,
It can also be benevolent. It can be a collaboration.
yeah, occasionally
Just because they have
I've
money
found
doesn't mean that, that's nefarious.
yeah. No, no, I'm not suggesting that. It's not a money laundering
No, I
scheme.
don't believe it. If it was, you'd actually have real money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they go exactly. They're retired by now.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh, but I, without going into all the gory details, which, uh, but being here in Daytona it's an organization that's needed to be rebuilt, and
Yes.
I've been getting, the kind of cooperation I need to achieve that, and we've started to make some serious progress now towards uh, rebuilding the organization and financially and as well as artistically. Things have, after COVID and just in general, things have
Right.
changed a lot in terms of who's on tour, who you can get, who you can afford. But one of the nice things, as we talked about earlier, as we were mentioning about Jacksonville, uh, just up the road, we have a first-rate orchestra that's as good as any in the country. And we also, of course, this season have Buffalo coming in, which is another orchestra that's kind of a hidden gem. They're, a fantastic organization. But we're starting to make some real progress and have made some changes that I think are going to make a real difference in the future for this organization and for the community.
Now, I did see that there were some. Was it called Yes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I said yeah. No, it's called Yes, the Youth Experiencing Symphony.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm the lieutenant governor with Kiwanis. So if it
Oh,
has to do with kids and
yeah.
engaging them and working with them, I'm all for it. And I'd love to hear what you guys have going
Right.
on.
Well, it's the program's been around since 1995, and we've mainly worked with the Volusia Public Schools, although we've expanded it out now to involve private school students as well as homeschooled students. Um, it just basically provides tickets for students to attend the concerts for free uh, between about the age of 8 and 18. And it really gives them an opportunity to hear an orchestra or an opera or a ballet,
Mhm.
something like that, which it's not something that they're going to hear if they're off in the hinterlands of Volusia County, or even in Daytona. They may not just simply be
Yeah.
able to afford it. But they come to the concert at intermission. They get some water and cookies, and so they can make it through the second half of the program.
Well, sure, you got to get some
Yeah.
sugar and some
Right.
energy and all of that, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and
uh,
so it's always fun to see them, and they seem to like it a lot, and they come dressed up, and so they're
mhm.
usually the snappiest dressers here. So
Well, now, how do we? And I'm not saying that it's a project you'd want to take on, but there's actually a friend of ours, and he's based out of Palm Coast. It's a
oh,
national,
mhm,
international organization called Kids Rock the Nation,
mhm,
and they get musical instruments in the
mhm,
hands of kids.
Yeah.
But even more than that, they try to, with each instrument comes like at least the first 3 or 4 music lessons,
yeah,
so that if the kid decides, you know what, I'm not into it, they're making a conscious choice, not
yeah,
just they were too lazy to ever pick it up. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful organization.
yeah,
And a lot of the stuff that they give away are orchestral instruments.
right,
And if they don't get in the right high school, then guess what? It's just
right,
they're not doing anything.
No.
right.
So, but anyway, yeah, I'll get you in touch with Anthony Wild.
Okay.
It's a wonderful
Kelly,
group.
I got a question for Mark.
Yes.
Mark, have you been involved with? I know a lot of symphonies do soundtracks for movies. Have you been able to create or work with anyone on a project like that?
No, those projects are really pretty much handled directly through the specific orchestra. Uh,
Okay.
we're basically we just present the concerts. We set them up and make sure that everything's ready
Mhm.
at the hall and sell the tickets and promote it and all that kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
it like a specific orchestra to what was it I was just watching? It was the movie Lincoln. John
Okay.
Williams wrote the music for it, and he was talking
Right.
to Steven Spielberg about recording the soundtrack. He said, "Oh, I just got done doing some concerts with the Chicago Symphony, and they sound wonderful in Symphony Hall in Chicago." And he said, "Well, why don't we use them to record the soundtrack?" So they did.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
that's great.
so it's the individual orchestras that work with directors and producers
Right.
and
Yeah.
such.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that info, bud.
Well, I got to
Appreciate it.
tell you, I, I I do think that I would be remiss if I did not get into what the upcoming season is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I saw that too, Kelly. They got about 4 or 5 events coming up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the season kicks off at Christmas time. Uh,
Okay.
the Jacksonville Symphony is going to come down and perform some selections from the Messiah, some of the
Mm.
orchestral interludes, as well as the arias, the solo songs from the
That's
Messiah. And at the end of the concert, we're going to have a nice uh, audience singing of the Hallelujah Chorus.
Oh,
So,
wow,
that ought to be
nice.
fun.
so some
Participation event.
Yeah,
exactly.
man.
We sometimes do have audience participation.
Well, now from what I've read, an even more important date is actually November 7th, which
Yeah.
is the 74th season celebration luncheon at the
Well,
Halifax River Yacht Club. Tell us about that. What's
yeah. Our guild, a lot of orchestras as well as concert presenting orchestras have what's called a guild, and it's basically a group of volunteers that help raise money and help promote the organization. And each fall we actually have two each year. We have a fall one and a spring one. The fall one is basically the kickoff to the season, and
mm-hmm.
we're having it at the Halifax River Yacht Club. Um, I don't know what the program is yet. Usually we have a speaker or a performer or something like that. Last year was, I believe, Holland came in and spoke. You may know him from uh, the public TV station at Daytona State. He does a little half-hour program about retirement and how to invest your money and things like that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
And so I, yeah, I don't think the president of the guild has told me yet what they're doing. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the
Not
luncheons
shared
are
that
always a
yet.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, I can now. Does it cost money to join the guild or to be in the Symphony Society?
Right. It does. It's $50 to join the guild. But there's also the cost of the meals and things like that. And usually we have like a 50-50 and also a silent auction at these events as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
and of course it's upstairs at the yacht club, which has a great view of the harbor and all of
Oh, yeah.
that and on the
Right.
river. And so it I've always enjoyed those meetings quite a bit. They're fun.
Well, and a valet parking to get
Right.
in. There's going to be some entertainment, it's the movers and shakers.
Yeah, many of them are. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just old people.
Oh, no, no, no. But I mean, that's traditionally what you would expect.
Yeah.
But we have all kinds, and right
We're
now, I think Daytona is starting to experience a little bit of the more some nouveau riche.
Yeah.
Some people and new money coming in, new blood. So it would be great if they would support the arts.
Oh,
Now,
absolutely. Yeah.
something that I saw that was not unusual, but on the 30th of January, you
Right.
guys are bringing in the real deal, Carmen. And I mean, really, and the pre-opera dinner,
hmm
what does that do? What I mean, is that just you sit down, you eat dinner, and then you just have a seat, or like, do you meet the artists and the talent, any of that?
Um, there's actually, well, it's a sit down dinner at the yacht club, and of course, it's not too far from the News Journal Center where we're presenting our concerts this year. Um,
Right.
Before each concert, though, there is a little talk that pre-concert talk that the artists will come out and talk about what they're doing that night, and so you get to meet them. Um, sometimes, sometimes the conductors and soloists and whatever don't want to come out and talk so much, so they'll send somebody else to do the dirty work.
Sure,
They
sure. No,
talk
I
about
get
the
it.
music, but people seem to enjoy them quite a bit. They can, at the bar, they can grab a drink and then sit down and, again, at the News Journal Center, it's in the art gallery, which is right back by
Yeah,
all those glass windows. So you get a great view again. You give another great view of the river there and the
Yeah.
bridges and all, and everything is lit up. And so
well,
it's,
you definitely scored getting the News Journal Center. I've done a few things, and they're just fantastic. They're
yeah,
great to work with. um, so there is how many people does that place seat?
853.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
It's on the
Wow, that'll
smaller
be nice.
side, but that's okay.
So, do you sell out historically?
Well, we've been at the Peabody for pretty much
Oh,
our
Okay,
entire
right.
existence, and the Peabody's huge for a
Oh yeah,
concert. It's over 2,600 seats, and
and
I
go behind the stage. It's really huge. I couldn't believe it. It's like,
yeah, it's a pretty big
acres.
halls. No one's building a 2,600 seat hall anymore, and
Right.
it it was we were having some difficulties. We really were not able to work through the city. Uh, One of the things that you have to have for a hall like the Peabody, which has a lot of fly space, that's the area behind the proscenium, is you
Hmm.
need an orchestra shell, or otherwise the sound just goes straight up
yeah.
behind the proscenium,
Yeah.
and you could have a 80-piece orchestra sound like a string quartet.
Yeah.
And in a
Right.
big hall, that
Exactly
doesn't
right.
really work very well.
Yeah.
So uh, the orchestra shell has been there about 50 years, and it's just shot. In
Yeah.
fact, I was just down there talking to the director of the hall, Chad Smith, and I said, "Well, do you still have it around?" He said, "No, we got rid of it
Right.
because it was not in good
Yeah.
shape."
I know Chad.
And
Well,
so it
it served its
we
purpose.
need a
Uh,
right, but orchestra shells aren't cheap. They're somewhere around $200,000.
Well,
oof.
Uh,
need a sponsor for that one.
So
yeah,
did they replace it, or are they allowing you to take and move your system over to the News Journal Center and
we're
then
well, actually, we don't. We have to use whatever the hall has. So, uh, it what's interesting about the News Journal Center, the big theater, is that about
Mhm.
half of the stage extends out into the hall, into the theater part, and then about half of it is behind the stage and does have fly space, but they have a partial orchestra shell so that the sound from the winds and percussion doesn't get sucked
Sure.
up above it. The strings it will be sitting out right into the audience. Most symphony halls today for orchestras don't have a proscenium or anything. There's just one big room and the stage, and so it really makes for a better sound that way. Um,
Sure.
Otherwise, like with the Peabody, you have to have an orchestra shell.
Yeah.
Right.
But we,
Or digitally alter it so much that it's not the same
right,
thing anyway.
well, exactly. It just doesn't. I know. I remember this from a while back. Yeah, one of the orchestras I worked with, the executive director there tried a little bit of very discreet miking and just subtly
Right.
using a little bit of extra sound because the hall, this
Sure.
was in Mississippi, and the hall there is about the size of the Peabody. It's just slightly smaller, and it helped. It actually helped. You didn't even notice it, and it
Hey,
was very
it's
nicely done.
exactly what Buddy Holly was doing
Yeah.
back in the day, before anyone had synthesizers or any of that
Yeah,
stuff. It was use an instrument, put a mic up by it, and let's see if we can't bring it on.
The drum setup for the Rolling Stones had 56 mics on it.
that's a lot.
What?
56. They
Just
were everywhere, man. We had a diagram. We had to put them all where they told us. Yeah.
wow. Well, I want to get through this because I've got all of the pictures arranged. So we're going to do this for you, and everyone will get a chance to see that along with the
Yeah.
dates and the times and all of this. But right after the opera Carmen, you guys on Thursday, February 26th at 7 p.m. have the Manhattan Chamber Players.
Right.
So I I think I've heard of these guys before. I mean, have they put out an album? Are they
Uh,
known?
they're fairly new. Um,
Really?
it was an outgrowth of a summer festival, I believe, and it's a small string orchestra.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
they're all very young players in their 20s, early 30s. Uh, and we happened to come across them. Someone suggested them, and we heard them online and were very impressed with what we heard. So we decided to go ahead with them, and we're really looking forward to that. The two pieces, two of the two big pieces they're playing, the Tchaikovsky
Yeah.
Serenade and the Dvorak Serenade, are very popular and very tuneful works. I think the audience is really going to enjoy those.
And you have to have proficiency. So let's show it off. Again, I just wish that everyone in Daytona would at least go out and experience what these arts really mean, because
Yeah.
you can listen to heavy metal. I do. I love it.
Mhm.
But I can tell you this, I had, I mean, body rushes, waves, my hair standing on end, tears in my eyes, listening to the London Symphony
Yeah.
Orchestra perform the 1812 Overture. I mean it. It
Yeah.
was a for real experience. And, I wish that for everybody to understand why the arts are so important and what
Yeah.
it can mean, you know, your mood, everything.
Right. Well, I think that some of the problems we've faced over the years, particularly the last 50 or so, have been uh, this kind of, and I don't know why or where it comes from exactly, but it seems that uh, we either take the arts for granted, or
Yeah.
we take the attitude that somehow it's for somebody else, or you have to make so much money, or any number of things. Um,
It's
which I
not
don't.
macho.
Well, to be honest, I've seen ballet dancers. You get
With
to,
you, man.
uh, I would not want to get it. I'm not a big guy, but even and I'm also getting too old. But I would not want to get into a fight even with the women. They are pure muscle.
Like,
Yeah.
I lived in Key West,
Yeah,
and Rudolph Nureyev
yeah,
used to come down there, and loved the bar that we had and all of that. And I mean, this guy, it was like a bulldog. You know how they're just like a
yeah,
solid, there's not an ounce of fat on him.
yeah.
Yeah, this guy, I wouldn't
They're,
tangle with him.
they're sculpted.
Exactly. That's the
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
word. Yeah, it really is.
I one time actually, it was one of the, I was at a bar and ran into Ken Griffey Jr.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Wow.
I couldn't say I ran. He walked past me. We didn't bump or anything. And I just looked at him for a second. It's like, was he carved or sculpted? It was, it just, this perfect human being. It's like, how do you do
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
But, it takes work.
Yeah.
I
Well,
played up to semi-pro ice hockey.
oh,
But
okay.
now hockey players they did not care about being chiseled or
Right.
anything. I mean, there's a totally different breed of athlete. But
Yeah.
I did experience being in athletic programs,
Right.
and it takes dedication. It
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah. I did too. And the thing was, I look back at it now, it's like, what was I thinking? I was 5'9", 120 125 pounds. It's like, yeah, I'm going to play
Yeah.
football. It's like, what are you, nuts? Even,
But you know what? You gave it a shot,
yeah,
right?
it's actually, I wish I'd had the brains of what to do, how to work around that issue
Well,
rather.
right, right.
But when you're a kid, you don't have, what do you do? So,
Well,
but
like when I played hockey,
try. Yeah.
when I played ice hockey, I was the smallest person. In fact, when I was in ninth grade, I was like 4'11" and weighed like 84 pounds. And so the only thing I could do was just be faster than that guy.
Yeah.
That was it, just know that they were coming, and I would either have to figure out how to get out of the way and still try to make a play or do whatever. But
Don't stay on the boards too long.
well, that
Yeah.
was it. But and hey, that leads me into another one of your fundraiser or another one of your shows.
Mhm.
Speaking of ice hockey, is the Friday on March 27th. You like my
Oh,
segue? The Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra.
yeah.
Uh, Now, that one has Joanne Falletta as the
Yeah.
conductor.
Yeah.
Have you? God, I'm trying to figure out where she would have
Yeah. I don't, that
got
name,
her
I'm trying
chops.
to,
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Where she would have? Is this her first uh, gig as conductor, or is she?
No, I don't know what her exactly every place she's been, but I know before Buffalo, she was with the Virginia Symphony, and she is the first woman to lead a major American orchestra. Back in 1999, she was hired. I was just talking to somebody yesterday who's actually played under her. He substituted with the Buffalo Phil, and yeah, we were talking about because Joanne is wonderful with people. And in fact, well, actually, she knows my old classical guitar teacher. They're friends, and oh, well, if you're back from that area, it's the funny part about it is although Buffalo's a fairly big city, the
Tight
music
circle.
the musicians all kind of know each other.
Right. Hey, each one of them can help you get that next gig, man, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. But she's always been good at the people side of things, and I know she was advising on an orchestra in Hawaii, one in Ireland. Um,
Wow.
she may have been, you mentioned Key West. I think she was doing something down in South Florida too. But she is within the business is really highly regarded. She was a student of Leonard Bernstein's and just a
Oh,
fine,
wow. Yeah.
fine conductor. And she really has raised the status of the Buffalo Philharmonic up quite a bit. Uh, they
Now,
were always
some
a
more.
very good orchestra, but it's Buffalo's one of those orchestras where the conductor would come in there and would build up their career and then move on to something bigger.
Exactly.
And but she has stayed, and I know that they were doing an endowment drive. I think this was about 10, 15 years ago. And I believe they raised something like $40 million in commitments, which
Wow.
uh
So she's gonna have a paycheck for a while.
yeah, and she can conduct anything she wants to.
yeah.
But she's somebody, if you're from that area, she's sort of our Josh Allen of the orchestra world. So uh
Awesome.
maybe we should get a uniform, like we should have a 17, but it says Falletta on it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what, though, if it's possible, before any of these shows, if you can get any of them to maybe want to come in on one of our calls here and just kind of discuss it, we'd be happy to share and to
Set
again
that up.
try to get as many people in our area exposed to the arts and entertainment world. And I
Well,
guess another one. Well, go ahead.
one of the things about the arts and what we're doing is we're kind of to sort of give a visual idea of what's being performed, and it's important,
Mhm.
is these are the kind of things when we look out at the world, the monuments we think of, like the Eiffel Tower or Mount Rushmore or the Taj Mahal. These are very, very special places
Yes.
in not just Western culture, but world culture. And this music is the same. There are orchestras in China. A good friend of mine conducted orchestras in Vietnam. Uh, so this music speaks
And the
to,
cool thing is they all speak the same language.
yeah, it's they, it's they, this somehow speaks to them. And that's it. To be honest, not all music speaks to everybody. But
Right.
if there is sort of a kind of world music in many ways that has traveled well to all the continents, of course, except Antarctica, uh, it would certainly be, Western classical music.
Sure.
Uh, so that's something I think that we, for whatever reason, have forgotten that this music has great meaning for all kinds of people. Uh,
Mhm.
and I think that's, we had talked before a little bit about it, well, we hadn't really, but about education. And I think we need to, particularly in our schools, like we did in
Yep.
Louisiana, uh, uh, teach kids about the great monuments of Western art and music and literature and theater and all of these things, because these things travel well. And
Yeah,
it,
there's a difference, I think, between investment in expansion of the mind versus DEI.
right.
Because I think of it more as an investment, in cold hard calculation than, just pie in the sky, let's do the arts and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, no,
Well,
if you do this, you will have a more rounded person capable of this and definitely more effective and efficient.
well, one of the things I think particularly about the arts is it tends to touch us in ways and move us in ways that we can't
Oh,
always
yeah.
exactly put into music or numbers or things like that. Last September, Jacksonville this past season was their 75th. And to kick it off for the season, they started out with the Second Mahler Symphony. It's called The Resurrection.
Uh-huh.
And it's always been one of my favorite pieces, but I've never heard it live. So I drove up to Jacksonville and I heard it. And I can't tell you exactly why, but it's a piece of music literally every human being should hear at least once in their life. It was moving beyond
Yeah.
it. There's a hand in my life. There have been probably 4 or 5 experiences I've had musically, which have shaped me and just made me. It's those moments that make you want to continue in a profession that can be awfully
Absolutely.
daunting and difficult. But it's,
No
you don't,
respect, no
after it's over
reward.
with, after it's over, you don't walk to the car, you just float. And
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
people, with what we're doing, the great monuments we bring in, I think that, you don't even have to travel very far to hear them. You don't have to go out to the Grand Canyon or where I grew up, Niagara Falls or things like that, or, the human
Mhm.
accomplishments of, as I mentioned, like the Taj Mahal or the Eiffel Tower or Reims Cathedral in France or any number of places, the Alhambra in Spain. Uh, these are just these remarkable places. I can think of,
Amazing.
yeah, I mean, one of the things I can remember going to the Lincoln Monument and
Me
you
too.
read what's on the walls. And after I actually had to sit down for 15 minutes and just let it soak in.
Yeah.
But these are the kind of experiences we're offering with these concerts. And it's one reason why we do the Yes program, because I think this is music that's important for everybody.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it doesn't really matter how old you are or what you look like or how much money you have. These are all very, very important things. They're all part of being human. Sometimes the best and worst of us, but I think they give us hope. They give us laughter. They give us tears, and not everything does. Most stuff, let's face it. A lot of stuff when we're watching TV is not designed to be, and that's okay. I mean, I do it
Well, and I
too,
got it. Yeah, I have
but
my guilty pleasures, you know.
but I have, there needs to be that part of our lives that are deeply meaningful and challenge us. Otherwise, life gets kind of boring pretty quickly. I mean, I don't want to be challenged every 5 minutes. That's a bit much. But
I
at the
mean,
same
no,
time, uh,
right.
again, I have those memories of what it was like to those special moments. Yeah, I remember when I was a student, I was thinking of quitting music. And at the time where I was going to school, there you had to be in an ensemble. And as a classical guitarist, way back then, there were no ensembles for classical guitarists. So we had to sing
Ah,
in the choir. It was called All College Choir. And the second semester, we sang the Brahms German Requiem. And it was
mm,
like an experience I had never had before. And I came out of there and thought, I want to feel this again. This feels wonderful. And
yes.
it felt like your life is genuinely meaningful. And so I think that's what, you know, when like, we have the first Brahms symphony this year with Buffalo. And uh, these are the kind of feelings you can get from this kind of music and this kind of
Well, and
experience.
that and like you said, it can move you in ways that are, just why did they have a guy with the drum right before, they would go into battle and I
Right,
mean it was motivation, it was
right,
somehow to cadence. It had to do with all kinds of different things, but it was
right.
practically applied and it really was music. There was a purpose to it.
Yeah.
Uh
Although,
so
although we don't want to do what Custer did and play Gary Owen. So
right.
you may be
Let's go
familiar.
back to history.
I don't know if you're familiar with the movie We Were Soldiers.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
He mentions in it that the uh, the company number and designation was the same as Custer's. And he's
Did
not
not
exactly thrilled with the idea, and they actually at times you'll hear them say Gary Owen, and it's like,
know that.
which for those that don't know, it's a tune that Custer liked to go into
Yeah,
battle with, and of course, you know what happened.
yeah.
So,
Oh,
uh,
so they
but
actually had their own tunes that they went in? I didn't even know that. I just
yeah,
knew that, it'd be like
I can't
Reveille
remember.
and
Sometimes I believe,
man,
and I
that's
may
like
be
these pro athletes that come out to, the rap songs and stuff.
right. Exactly. It's exactly
Well, you
it.
know what? It's still music moving somebody and
Right.
delivering a message.
Yeah.
And
So
again,
it's
I know that you're all about classical, but I just love the fact of anybody doing something related to expression with talent and practice
yeah.
to espouse or create an emotion in me. I love it.
Well, that's what we try to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like you said, the difference between listening to something and then go watch them live. Completely different experience.
Yeah,
You know.
it's one of the things that a lot of times people say, "Well, I've got Rhapsody or Spotify or something like that." Uh, but there is nothing like being in a hall, uh, hearing something being created in the moment.
Yes.
Um, it there's and it just they're just live performances are just so much more exciting because
Hmm.
something can always go wrong. And
Well,
sometimes
but
it
that's
rarely
part of the
does, but
thrill.
sometimes it
Yeah,
does. And
That's
they've got
part
to,
of the
you know,
pretty
thrill.
pull it back
regular.
together and keep going.
But when it comes together, man,
Right,
like I was telling you before we got started here, I watched the London Symphony Orchestra at the Ocean Center,
right,
directed by Eric Kunzel,
yeah,
who was the director for the Boston Pops.
right, right.
And they went through, I mean, this was the LSO playing the theme from Star Wars, which is what they play. I mean, it was the real deal. And then they played the 1812.
Right.
And I mean it. It was just the most. Everybody. I looked at people all around me, and it was almost like those commercials where they turn the fan on and your hair blows back. And I mean, it really was. This was just such a dynamic movement of all of these people. I don't know, and of course to watch that conductor who has probably got to be one of the most animated that there is, but trying to evoke every note out of these wonderful musicians. It was just fantastic to
Yeah.
witness something on those lines. I was really grateful to have had that experience in my lifetime.
But also, a lot of times these days we don't realize, going to a concert and you're in the hall, and because I've been over to Orlando a couple of times in the
Mhm.
Steinmark, and there's just something about being in the hall with the lighting and the wood and the orchestra there, and I
And
it always
well,
feels special.
I got to tell you that now I used to get that, and it was an olfactory smell and everything at the Peabody.
Hmm.
It was that it's almost kind of exactly what you're talking about. But um, I was in New York and it was like a whole group of us, and a vendor had gotten us tickets, and he was almost apologizing, going, hey, listen, it's last minute, to get this many tickets. I had to get it off Broadway. It hasn't even opened yet, so I can't tell you anything about it. It was Tommy.
Oh, okay.
And it was at this tiny off Broadway, theater. And man, I got it. But Pete Townsend was there. Elton John was there, and I mean, this was just like this dumb luck of hey, listen, can you get us tickets to this thing?
Yeah.
And absolutely, just to see that and again to be a witness, unbelievable. Again, you almost like tears in the eyes of being privileged and grateful to have been afforded that opportunity to witness it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I really am.
Yeah. It's doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's something very special.
Well, I appreciate and everybody does what you're doing here, Mark, to help us not only experience it, but to share the experience and to perhaps bring some of the younger kids into the fold and to understand what this type of music is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, rap is great, but I can't wait to see the blending of the two. Kind of how, like I was telling you, how Buddy Holly brought orchestral music with rock and roll. What
Mhm.
happens with some of these other things? Just the future's bright as far as entertainment and the arts goes, mostly just because of the new equipment, the the buy-in costs. I mean, I can remember I had a television studio, and it was about $325,000 to put it together. Now, $3,500, and you can put a TV studio together, broadcast quality,
Couple of GoPros in
4K.
there, you are.
So, well, okay, maybe a little more, Alan. But
Well,
but
like with this phone, it's like you were saying earlier, it's like, yeah, you can hear you really and see you really well. How is that possible? It's just a little phone. But
yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like when I was starting out in distance education. We had the processor, I think, was a 386 or a 486, which is a nothing processor, and we had a modem, and the
Hmm.
modem was 300 baud, which is again nothing. And
Right. BPS.
yeah, we were hooked up through a phone bank down in Baton Rouge, and so it was extremely simple and primitive, and as I
But
said, no one phone.
that was actually the second original intent of DARPA. The first was to have a communications that continued on during after a nuclear attack. The second was to try to create a learning program within the university system.
Yeah, at that time, I believe the military was using
Oh
some
yeah.
of trying to figure out what to do along the lines of what we were doing. And I think in Australia there was one, there was a program and there was us and that was it. And so it wasn't like we could get a book and say, now you do this and now you just recently when I was in Corpus Christi, I was over at Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and
Mhm.
I can't remember why I was in the distance education uh, studios. But I'm looking at it, and it's kind of they're all set up in little booths, and I'm looking, it's like that's what we did. It's the same exact thing.
The more
It's
things
bad.
change, the more they
Yeah,
stay the same.
yeah. It's so it was really kind of funny to see that it just basically the only thing that's really changed is the technology. The basic ideas of what's done
Well,
is exactly the same.
and kind of getting back to what you were saying is that not that an individual is playing a character when let's say that they might be the first oboe or whatever, but they are an entertainer, but to be more proficient, that's what I think is the goal, is to take art to a level that exceeds what might have previously, or to do it in a different way.
Mhm.
I dig that type of stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's what I think of as really understanding your craft enough to then experiment and try something else.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny being, well, I am a composer. What kind of gets to be odd about it is after a while, when you've done it for a while, you just start to, okay, I'm going to sit down now and write this piece, and this piece is going to be this, that, and the other thing. And you just kind of do it. And it isn't so
Hmm.
much of having to really think about it too much. It just sort of, you know what you're trying to do, and you just can do it. Uh, and you can find when the spots in the music don't quite work or something. Oh yeah, I can fix this, and it's a
Right.
very it's not like it was when I had done it only for a couple of years where everything had to be really ground
Exactly.
out. Now
Yeah.
it's well, thank goodness it isn't, because as we get older, you can't spend that kind of time of energy on the tiny little spot. You gotta be
Well,
able to you got to get it out there and get it done.
exactly. And that's, sometimes, well, again, once you start getting the experience and you've done this before, and to know that there's places where, where you put the flag down, and then there's
Yeah.
other places where you don't.
Yeah,
But
well, it's knowing when you've got the piece done. It's you can't keep. I mean, I think Shostakovich said it well. As why keep rewriting? Just finish the piece and write a new piece.
right.
But you're gonna
Change it on the fly
you
if you
could you
need
could
to.
you could spend your whole life on one piece, and
Yeah.
And I
it's
can't tell you how many people are like that, to where it's like, no,
yeah.
it's not perfect yet. Well,
It's,
nobody will ever hear
yeah, it's with the person, of course, that, people talk about Beethoven. And now Beethoven did grind things out, but it was basically, he was making a living by composing. So he had the time to do it. But even he had to at some point say, okay, it's done. On to the next piece. And, otherwise, like I said, you end
Well,
up on.
that's either your wife or your agent who's doing that by that point.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like,
he
all
didn't.
right, listen, we all need some money here.
He had patrons, but he didn't have a wife or agent. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess they didn't have the California Associates group out at
Yeah.
that time,
yeah,
huh?
early 19th century Vienna hadn't thought of that yet.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Mark, God, it has been just an absolute pleasure. I've enjoyed talking with you so much. I know that I've learned a lot. And I hope that we can, maybe have you back on, or maybe one of the players on before one of your shows, to give it that little shot in the arm. And we will put in all of the post elements that have your schedule, your calendar, and some hot links so that people can just go straight into your website.
That'd be
So,
great. Thank you.
Yeah.
my pleasure. Thanks for being with us on
Sure
another
thing.
episode of Volusia Flagler Cares. Take care, everybody. Be nice to each other. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.